Dar- All right. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Um, if you can hear me and see me okay, we are live, I believe. Just write in the chat. Maybe let me know where you're from. Where are you from? Love to know where everyone is coming to me from today. Kate is from Ohio. Nate is from LA, right on, down the road. Vanessa from Ohio as well. All right, Eric from Phoenix. We got Endo from San Diego. Gil from Kansas City. Phoenix from Colorado. Jeff from Nashville. Jesse. Wow, there's a lot of you here today. Jesse from Sacramento. Michael in New Jersey, but really Philly. Jeff from Nashville. Montreal, all right. Austria, very cool. Vancouver, all right. Norway, all right. We got our international crowd here. New Orleans, what's up? Eric, I'm gonna be there very soon. Sam, Birmingham, what's up? Germany, okay, very cool. Andrew from North Carolina. Max Holm from Oklahoma. Wow, all right. Australia, I don't know what time it is there, but thanks for staying up with us. Or yeah, having us over dinner or something. Peru, amazing. Jack, Miami, Florida. Chloe, what's up? Monaco, wow. New York City, what's up? Kyle, hello, hello. London, Paul, amazing. We have a very worldwide audience today. Toronto, cool. So, as you know, we're just about to get started. What's up, Rob from Seattle? Hello, hello, Rob Brennan. Terry Boyle, hi from, he didn't finish that thought, but that's okay. Uh, Lady Smith, British Columbia, very cool. Victoria, BC as well. Cool. And okay, so Steve found the raise your hand button. Yeah, so actually, let's do a little bit of housekeeping before I get started on this presentation. So, we're going to go for about an hour. I have a full presentation of what you're here for. Um, the top 7 streaming growth tactics. And I'm going to get through this it should take me just under an hour. And then I'm going to leave tons of time for questions. So if you stay till the end, I will hopefully answer all your questions during the presentation. So just kind of sit tight. But I will spend as much time as you want to hang out. I got the day blocked off. So if you want to ask questions at the end, I'm gonna hang out and we can hang out and talk about whatever and ask whatever questions. Hopefully related maybe to what I was talking about, but if not, whatever, you can ask me anything. Um, there is a Q&A box separate from the chat box. There's a Q&A box kind of at the bottom of the screen here. You can type your questions in there. Hold off again on the questions, till the end. But feel free to use the chat. I am going to kind of not really be paying attention too much to the chat box while I'm going through this because I got a slideshow and I want to get through everything. But we will have a bunch of time at the end to ask questions. Oh yeah, and Mikey is here from Ari's Take. So Mikey, my team member here from Ari's Take, he can answer all your questions as we go through this. Orpheus from Greece, what's up? Cool. So if you do have questions like as we go, or you need something clarified, or you don't understand when I say something like DSP, and he's like, he's saying DSP, what does that mean? Mikey will be in there, and he can answer your questions. As we're kind of going throughout. But I'll end up clarifying everything, hopefully for the most part. But Mikey knows my presentation, so he'll let you know to kind of like sit tight. I'm gonna get to it or something like that. Or again till the end. All right, let's get started. I know a lot of people are still coming in. And there's a ton of you here right now from all over the world, which is very cool. What's up, Roman from Utah? Bernadette from Ann Arbor. Cool. Melissa from San Diego, and then yes, Anna. We we are going to. This is being recorded, so thank you for showing up live. This is the best way to do it because I'll get to ask questions and um, I have some questions to ask you actually as we're going to go throughout this, so that's going to help guide me. But everyone will get a replay. It'll be available for I think like a week or something like that. But anyway, all right, let's kick in. I'm going to get this started here. I got a little presentation that I do want to go through. So, all right, hopefully everyone can see this and beautiful. Okay, cool. So, thank you. What's up, Charlie from Atlanta? All right, so let's kick in. I know a lot of people are joining us. We're on a musician standard time per usual, but it's all good. As more of you, there's so many of you here, so I appreciate everybody coming, showing up on time. But let's just get going, and those that are piling in, we'll catch up. Cool. All right. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Ari Herstand. I have been a lifelong musician. I've played over 1,000 shows everywhere from living rooms to arenas, everything in between. I was a kind of self-managed DIY artist for many, many years, booked all my own tours, and charted. I got a bunch of songs placed on TV shows, synced, all that kind of stuff. And after a while, I was kind of a lot of people are asking me, how were you doing all this? How did you get your songs placed on TV shows? How did you chart without a label or a booking agent or a publishing company or anything like that? And I would get back to everybody and I'd be like, oh yeah, here's how this works. Here's how I did it. Word eventually spread. If you have questions about the music business, go ask Ari. I didn't have time to get back to everybody, but I was getting kind of the same questions over and over again. So I launched a blog. I called it Ari's Take, and everything that I was learning in real time, I would write about. I'd be like, here's what happened. Here's how I got screwed over last night by this promoter, this club. Don't let this happen to you, all that stuff. The blog kind of took off. I realized, like, no one was really talking about how they were making it work. No working musicians were doing that. And so the blog is Ari's Take. It has evolved. It eventually kind of, a lot of people came to me and they said, hey, Ari, I read all your blog articles, helpful, but I need something to piece the dots together. And what book should I read? I had kind of read all the music business books out there, and unfortunately, there were no books out there talking about the current music industry, the current music business as it is today. A lot of books written by lawyers, decades old, kind of talking about the macro industry, and it's like this isn't really relevant to what artists are going through today. So I felt I needed to write the book, and the book How to Make It in the New Music Business. It's on its third edition now. Thank you, Rosa. You have the book. Audio and physical. Okay, you know my voice very well. Allison, you just bought the book on Monday. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, so I wrote this book because I wanted to get all this information out there as I was conducting kind of all of these interviews, writing for the blog and other publications like Variety and stuff like that I write for. I was hearing all these incredible stories from artists and managers of how they were making it happen and making it work in the new music business that no one was really talking about. And I wanted to tell their stories, but also reveal all the interesting creative ways that people are making it work in the new music business. Of course, now I have a podcast where I just record all these conversations. We release an episode almost every week. And it's you can check out the podcast. I interview everyone from like managers to record labels, artists, music supervisors, everything like that. Because I just try to share and spread this information. I don't believe in competition in the music industry. I believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. We are all in this crazy industry together. So that's another reason why I'm doing this today. Today is my talk kind of about the state of streaming, but we could talk about anything because the music industry is constantly evolving, is so wildly complicated. Today, we're just going to focus on that. And also I have an online academy. I think most of you, I see some students in here today called Ari's Take Academy. We have music business courses, all that stuff. Okay, so that's who I am. If you didn't know who I was, that's what I do. I wear a lot of different hats. So I have a little poll that I want to put this out here. So this is all about streaming today. So if you wouldn't mind just answering this, how many Spotify monthly listeners do you have? This will help guide the conversation. And then the second question is, how much money did you make from streaming in 2024? About how much, obviously you don't need to pull your full statements right now, but if you know. So this will really help me guide the conversation today. If we have all people who, you know, are making full livings, that'll change it. Or if we have people that are wanting to make more money from streaming, or they're just kind of getting going, that'll also help guide the conversation today. It really is kind of more of a conversation here. So there's a poll on the screen. You can actually just pop it in. There you go. Yeah, a lot of you are answering this. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll in three. Oh, a lot of people answering it. Keep answering it. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Super helpful. All right, let me share these results here so you can see them. Um, all right, so about 70% of you have 0 to 500 monthly listeners. Totally cool. That's why we're here to learn about it. We do have some people that made between $10,000 and $50,000 last year from streaming royalties. That's awesome. But most of you have not made much money from streaming, and that's totally cool. That's why we're here. We're going to talk about how to grow it. All right, so beautiful. Let's keep going. All right, so let's break down some numbers here. And these numbers were just shared by Spotify recently. And they come out with this report every year. Unfortunately, Apple Music and the others don't really share these numbers. But this is the Spotify numbers that were shared from 2024 numbers. And these are the number of artists and how much money they made in Spotify royalties in 2024. So as you see here, there's 274,500 artists that made at least $1,000 in Spotify royalties last year. There's 22,100 artists that made over $50,000 in Spotify royalties, and it kind of goes up from there. So I know we have some of you that are in that category. I saw that, which is great. But most of you are under the $1,000 mark, and let's change that. That's what we're here to talk about. There is money to be made in streaming. I know streaming doesn't pay what we want it to, and it is not a replacement for sales, and that's a whole other conversation that we can get into at the end if you want to. But today we are specifically talking about streaming because it is the driving force of the music industry still and currently. So we're going to talk about that. And there is money to be made in streaming royalties. So let's talk about it. Okay. Now here is just some more macro numbers just to lay the foundation so we're all on the same page, so we have the same facts in front of us. I think we got to start with the facts, and then we'll go from the facts, and then we'll get into the guidance. So some more facts. The music industry made over or just about $36 billion in 2024, the global recorded music industry. Most of that came from streaming. Now, what I found the most fascinating about this is this number down here on the bottom left, $2 billion artist direct. That means, so DIY self-released artists collectively made $2 billion in 2024 from streaming revenue. So all of this money that's being made isn't just to the major labels or even artists on indie labels. The artists that self-release their music, and I'm assuming that's most of you here today, self-release your music without a record label, made $2 billion in streaming revenue last year. Again, there's money to be made, but we got to talk about how to get that money. And then our last macro chart here, you can see every year of what the music industry made and how they made it. So obviously in 1999, pretty much all the money was made in physical album sales. And then Napster came out and album sales went way down. Then there was downloads, but the music industry kind of bottomed out here in the year 2014 and then has been slowly rising ever since, obviously from streaming. Streaming is the biggest driving force of global recorded music revenue. We have surpassed the 1999 mark in dollars. Not quite adjusted for inflation just yet, but we're getting much, much closer. Okay. And now, just so you understand all the different streaming services that are out there and how many people are using them and what market share they all have. So Spotify, as you probably guessed, is the biggest one. They have 32% of the market of everyone in the world who streams music. 32% of them are using Spotify. TME, that's the Chinese company, Tencent Music Entertainment. They're in second place. China is a massive market, and they have nearly 15% of the market. Apple Music, as you probably imagine, is third. But as you can see, it's about a third of the user base that Spotify has. Amazon Music is very, very close behind Apple Music. Amazon is pretty much up there. A lot of people got Prime. A lot of people use the Alexa, Echo speakers and all that stuff. Okay, now if you stick around until the very end, you will learn how to earn a living from streaming. I know it seems very daunting and so far-fetched for depending on where you're at, but I want you to stay to the very end. We're only going to be together for an hour, so stick with me for the hour. Let's go. All right, so some more numbers just to lay the foundation of facts. Spotify, by the numbers, we're going to get to Apple Music in a second. So Spotify has 626 million monthly active users, 246 million paid subscribers. It's in 180 countries. There's 100 million songs on Spotify, way too many songs. 30 seconds of a song equals one stream. So if you didn't know that, a song needs to play for at least 30 seconds for it to register as one stream. And Spotify pays rights holders. Rights holders just mean record labels, publishers, distributors, artists. They pay out the music industry about 70% of their music revenue. And the only way that a song earns, and this is new from last year, is a song needs to get at least 1,000 streams to earn royalties. Very controversial. I've written a lot about this on Variety. You can read my pieces on it. We're not going to talk about the ethics around that today. We can talk about it at the end if you want. Again, these are just the facts. Okay, Apple Music. So by the numbers, 93 million paid subscribers, so not as many paid subscribers as Spotify, but that's still a very significant amount. Similarly, 30 seconds equals one stream. That's how they count it. And then similarly, Apple Music pays out about the same. So of the music revenue they take in, 70% of that goes out to music rights holders. So that's pretty much about the same as Spotify. Now, all of these streaming services pay on what's called the pro rata payment model. So I really want to clear up this confusion because another reason I'm doing this today, there's so much confusion about how streaming pays. And unfortunately, people don't have the facts. They don't have the information. So let's clear up the information so you are educated and you're no longer ignorant about how streaming pays. There's no such thing as a per stream payment. Let me say that again. There's no such thing as a per stream payment. So all the graphs out there, graphics and everything that you see is like, well, Spotify pays 0.003 cents, but Apple Music and Tidal pays almost a penny per cent. None of that is true. Those are just averages by some artist or some label that kind of averaged out what they got. But none of that is true. None of that, I mean, sure, they might be their averages, but there is no per stream rate. They all pay on a pro rata model, meaning all the money that they take in from music, it goes into this like black box here, and then they pay out about 70% of all that money, and then it gets divvied up based on the market share. So like if you got 1% of streams, you'd make about 1% of the money. That's more or less kind of how it works for all these streaming services. So, I don't want to hear any more about the topics of how like Amazon pays more than Spotify or Tidal pays more and why everyone should use. That's not true. The reason that they're per stream payments seem like they're more, it's just because there's so few users on those services. So like, yeah, Tidal somehow always makes that list of who's paying the most. But if we remember going back to this thing, Tidal doesn't even register here as a streaming service. They don't even have market share that equals 1% of the market share. So if Tidal had the same number of users as Spotify, they'd be paying about the same per stream. The per stream rate would average out to be about the same. Hopefully that was clear. Let's clear up the confusion. And if you just want to see how this works, they pay out, like I said, about 70% of all the money that goes out to rights holders. Whoops. And here's how it's broken down. About 80% of that goes to distributors. So when you queue up your music on a distributor, whatever distributor you're using to get your music out to the streaming services, the DSPs, that's another term for streaming service. So people use the term DSP or streaming service, same term. The DSPs pay about 80% of the streaming revenue to distributors. So that's the money you get from your distributor. And then 20% of that money goes to publishers and songwriters through various rights organizations. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. Okay, we've laid the foundation. Those are the facts. Let's kick in to top 7 streaming growth tactics. Number 1, I think something we all know, playlists. So let's break down how this works now in 2025. So there are 4 types of playlists on streaming platforms. Number 1 is editorial. These are the ones that are created by employees of the company. So this is what the biggest playlist on Spotify called Today's Top Hits look like. It's created by, right, if you can see, created by Spotify. This is what it looks like on Apple Music. This is their Rap Life playlist, very popular playlist, created by an employees of Apple Music, employees of Spotify. Here's what it looks like on Tidal, Indie Folk in Between. Again, these are called editorial playlists. These are created by human beings, employees of the company. This is what Amazon Music looks like too. Similarly, employees of the company. How do you get on an editorial playlist? Well, some of these platforms, some of the DSPs have a for artists backend. So Spotify for artists, Apple Music for artists, Amazon Music for artists. You log into the backend and you can actually pitch your music to these editors. Specifically, Spotify and Amazon enable this if you pitch it in the backend. Kind of looks like this when you pitch it. There's a pitch form and you pitch it. These are the recommendations that the editors have told me directly of best chances to get on these editorial playlists. So obviously you have to submit through their portal. They want you to submit at least 3 weeks in advance. They need time to review the songs. They're going to talk to the editorial staff. And there's other songs that they're getting pitched all the time. They do like if you release music regularly. Sometimes they might not get to your first 5 pitches, but by pitch number 6, they might be able to get to it, and they might say, man, this artist keeps sending music in. Okay, let's look at this. And then they'll get pinged because as you release more music, that gives you a new opportunity to pitch and a new opportunity to keep learning what's working and growing from there. They check out the buzz that you're getting. David, I'm going to get your question at the end. I see your hand, but just keep going. And if you want to type it in, you can type it in quick. I'm not going to take questions right now. Let me get through this and then type your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. We'll hit them at the end. Okay, and then they read the press, they look at social media. A lot of the editors, believe it or not, follow artists on social media and just follow along. So, some of the artists that I manage, I see this. I see that the editors, I pitch them, they might not include them on a playlist, but they follow the artist, and then, on their 5th, 6th, 7th release, they add them to a playlist. Okay. Number 2, types of playlists, personalized playlists. So these are the ones that are made. These are by the algorithm. These are what they look like on Apple and Spotify, and these are like algorithmically generated playlists. So on Spotify backend, you have different like daily mix, and you have new releases, recommended stations, top picks. Apple Music, this is like the chill mix. Apple Music for Ari. Apple's algorithm made this for me. Similarly, like an upbeat mix made for Ari Herstand. This is like the algorithm is made for me, thinking this is what I would like to listen to. If I want to get in the mood, the upbeat mix, your upbeat mix is going to look different from my upbeat mix. Even though it's like a Spotify logo here, this is the algorithm making this playlist for the user, for the listener. How do you get on these algorithmic, they call them personalized playlists? Well, a big thing is organic traffic will trigger the algorithm, meaning the more people that go to your profile on this DSP, Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, and click play, and then they add it or they like the song and they add it to their own playlist, that is going to trigger the algorithm. That's going to send signals to the algorithm saying, oh, a lot of people like this song. And then they're going to test that song in some smaller algorithms, so on this radio station and that new music playlist or that Discover Weekly or something like that, based on how then other people react to it. If they like it, if they share it, if they skip it, that sends a negative signal, or if they add it to playlist, that sends a positive signal. And then if they then go to your profile and follow you, these are all signals that the DSPs are the algorithm will use to see, should we put this song in more personalized playlists. Okay. The third type of playlist out there is the personalized editorial. This is a combination of what we just talked about, human made, an employee of the company. So like the right side is when I'm signed out of Spotify, this feeling good playlist. An editor made this, a human, an employee of Spotify made this playlist. However, when you're signed in, it's slightly tweaked and customized for the listener. So it's kind of algorithmic and editorial, personalized and editorial in one. And then the fourth type of playlist is listener playlist. This is, I think we're all familiar with this. Users made these playlists. So this is a playlist that I made. It's called Low Volume Funk. I'm a big funk soul fan. I made this playlist. We have 55,000 people have clicked save on this playlist, and I add songs to it that I dig, that I think fit. People, pitch me all the time. Starbucks made a playlist. This Ram Party Fiesta made a TikTok songs of 2025. There's 388,000 people that saved this playlist. How do you get on these listener playlists, these user-generated playlists? Well, you can submit to these users directly. However, be very, very careful of playlist plugin services. Never pay for streams. We've now heard the horror stories. I've also written about this extensively on Variety, on Ari's Take. If you've been following me, I've been talking about this a lot. So many artists are getting their music ripped down from streaming services because they have paid shady playlist plugin services like this one, where it looks legit, but it's not. You got to be super, super careful if you're going to pay for marketing in any form, and especially playlist plugin. You got to be very, very careful. There are so many scams out there. This one is a scam. These artists don't exist. These are screenshots from the website. Literally, you like Google, like get on playlists or get more streams or whatever. This is one of the first hits. This website, this is the marketing materials. These are fake artists. I literally looked up these artists and like, they don't exist. This is literally on their website. It's insane. They'll be like, here's what the cart looks like. It's like you can get 30,000 plays and 1,000 saves and 1,000. These are all bots. This is all fake. If you pay for this service or pay for something like this, most likely your music will get removed from Spotify. You do not want to pay. Be very, very careful. I don't recommend really any of these services. Definitely not these. This is a scam. This is a flat out scam. There are some pay for consideration services like Groover. Kim just asked about Groover. Groover's different. That is a pay for consideration, not pay for, like, if they make a claim like you're going to get 30,000 plays and 1,000 saves, where they're like guaranteeing this when it looks too good to be true, it most definitely is. Groover or Submit Hub, these are services where you pay for consideration directly to playlist editors. Those are a little bit more legitimate. I've tested them out. However, I have heard stories of people using Submit Hub and then they got their music removed because their playlist, although, what they did was not illegal or against the terms, those playlists happen to be bot infested. If you listen to this episode on the podcast I had with these two guys of BeatDap, they run this company that detects this streaming fraud, and they talked very in depth about how this all works. You can check it out. And why are they doing this? Why are they removing music? Well, because unfortunately, there are people out there that are trying to game the system for their financial gain. Like this guy who generated $10 million using bots, and until they found it, and then now he's in jail. So it is illegal. He went to jail for it. But, to preempt it, the streaming services are trying to combat all of this fraud, and you don't want to get caught up in it. And now this was a change of last year, that what Spotify is doing is now Spotify, to combat artificial streaming, that streaming fraud, they are fining distributors $10 per infringement. And those distributors are now passing that fine down to the artist or just ripping down the artist's music because they don't want to get fined. So when your music gets ripped down, it's most likely the distributor doing it. And again, I wrote about this on Variety and on Ari's Take about how all this works. If you are a victim of streaming fraud, you notice that you're getting these weird spikes and you don't know where they're coming from, they look like it's bots, contact your distributor immediately. Also contact Spotify. You can contact them in the Spotify for Artists backend. get ahead of this. Don't wait until your music gets removed. Say, I had nothing to do with this. I didn't hire anybody, or, you worked with this agency or whatever. Get ahead of it. Okay. Number 2, top 7 streaming growth tactics. Collabs. I think we all know what collaborating means. These are collabs. So, here's a song by Jennie and Dominic Fike. Jennie, she's from the K-pop group Blackpink. She's a solo artist now, massively successful. When you collaborate with another artist, it goes out to both fan bases. So Dominic Fike, he collaborated with Jennie, and look at his number 1 most popular song of the moment is that collaboration. Now, you don't need to worry if it's going to mess up your discography or something like that. In this case, this was just a feature that Dominic did with Jennie, and so Dominic's not the main artist, so it doesn't show up in Dominic's discography, but it does show up on popular songs. So it's a great thing to collaborate with other artists and your fan bases overlap, because then when that song comes out, the algorithm will push it to both fan bases. So this is almost like opening for another artist in the digital sense, in the streaming sense. Number 3, top 7 streaming growth tactic, regular releases. I can't stress this enough. I know as an artist, we grew up loving albums, full albums. We want to make albums. I get it. Don't let anyone tell you how to make your art. If you want to make an album, make an album. You can make your art however you want to make your art, however that resonates with you. This is very, very important. And I'm going to lay that again as the foundation of what we're discussing. I'm not going to tell you how to make your art. No one's going to tell you how to make your art. This is all about, once that art is made how you want to make it, now we're getting into how to market it. How do we roll it out to today's standards so you'll have the best chance of building this audience and fan base and reaching a global audience and being successful on streaming services? They have said regularly release music. I did a podcast with this artist manager where he talked about how one of his artists went from literally 0 streams to making a full-time living from streaming royalties in 3 years based on regularly releasing music. You can check out this episode of the podcast. It's just called How to Hack Spotify and TikTok. It's recommended that you make a new release every 4 to 6 weeks. If you have an album that you're going to release, awesome. Don't just release that album because that's one release. I recommend releasing multiple singles in advance of that album every 4 to 6 weeks leading up to the album. Number 4, top 7 streaming growth tactic. This you knew was coming, TikTok and IG Reels. So we all know that TikTok has been a driving force of the music industry for the last 5 years or so. Here is Flying a Boss. They had a huge moment last year where their song, a couple songs went crazy viral. I had their videographer on the podcast to talk about how this all happened. And it is kind of the single reason that they racked up millions and millions of streams and hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. Similarly, I had the Rare Occasion, the indie rock band, the Rare Occasions, on the podcast to talk about how they got signed, then dropped, but really they blew up on TikTok. You can see 240,000 people, 240,000 posts used their song Notion, and it generated nearly 1 billion streams from that. So we all know it's worked. And more recently, this folk artist named Jesse Wells, he makes folk songs. Writes usually stuff of the moment. So like, we see like is a signal leak. So when, they leaked the, they had that oopsie moment in the administration where they kind of sent out a journalist was included in the war plans signal chain. He wrote a song about it and is right here. And, these songs, he writes about whatever the hot topic of the moment is. And it has worked for him. It is connected. It's very basic. You can watch his videos. It doesn't need a lot of production. He's standing in the woods and just playing an acoustic thing and singing about it. He sings about all sorts of topics. And as you can see, it translates right here. Something about United Health, all this stuff. So he's a folk artist. He's like in the tradition of folk. So it's all different genres are connecting. I think there was a misnomer a few years ago that it's like only a certain type of music works on short form videos on TikTok. It's not really true. It's kind of all music right there. Here's a hip hop artist, Old Man Saxon. This is now Instagram Reels. This is not TikTok. This is Instagram Reels, which is we're starting to see this happen now more and more. Uh, this his song Hell Yeah, 107,000 reels have used his song, and you can see it translates both on Apple Music, it's his number one song here, and on Spotify, it's his number one most popular song at the moment. Again, Instagram Reels, not just TikTok now. All right, number 5, streaming growth tactic. Now, this is specific to Spotify, but Spotify has internal marketing programs and marketing features that you can use, and they're paid, so it's paid marketing. And if you want to promote a new release or something like that, you can use one of their marketing tools. And some of them you pay cold hard cash, like the ones where you open up the app and there's like a new release from so and so. That's called like a marquee or a showcase. Some of them you pay in royalties. So like their discovery mode, I test all of this stuff out on every service and everything. As you see here, this is when I started discovery mode, and then it just kind of shot up radio and autoplay. But you give up 30% of your streaming royalties just on the algorithmic playlist that it gets included on in discovery mode. So here's one of the artists that I manage. Here's our numbers. So in March, this they got this is just from the discovery mode campaign, as you see here. These are not total streams. This is just from this. They got, nearly 25,000 streams just from discovery mode. And you can see what that song was doing before discovery mode and then after discovery mode. So it does work. Not for every song. Some songs it didn't do anything. Some songs it actually had a negative impact. This one had a very positive impact. And even though you're giving up 30% of royalties on just those algorithmic playlists it's on, it still was financially positive, a net positive in the end. Okay. Number 6, streaming growth tactic. We have playing live. I don't want to understate this. With all of the conversation around the internet and social media and Spotify and all of this stuff, honestly, hitting the ground and playing live is tried and true. And as you may have noticed, when you go on tour, you play shows and there's a few hundred people at your show, and then those few hundred people in this one town then go and listen to your music the next day or the next week. It signals the algorithm and they all go listen to it, and then that starts to grow. So I had the president of Sub Pop Records on the podcast, and he talked about how, why they're still giving tour support to artists. Why, when this record label does not share, they don't make any money from artists' live revenue. They don't touch live revenue. They don't take a part of ticket sales or merch or anything like that. They're only making revenue from their recorded music, streams, and sales. Why would they pay their artists to go on tour? This is a big reason, because it actually does increase streaming. So touring, playing live, we can't forget about playing live. All right, number 7, social media ads. Now, this is the most complicated one of the 7, and I'm going to talk about why and how this works. You got to be super, super careful about this one, because of all of these 7 tactics, this I found to be by far the most effective. Again, I've tested all these things with various artists of all different genres. Social media ads is the most effective. This is the best way, by far, hands down, to grow on streaming quickly. However, if you do it wrong, it will not work and you will waste so much money. I have wasted thousands of dollars before I learned how to do this, trying this out because somebody told me, oh my God, go run ads on Instagram. And then, this is how it works. So I was like, cool. I wasted thousands of dollars. So this project is one of my projects. We've only released 5 songs. We had some songs out, and then once we started running ads the right way, for this project at least, the streams just shot up. It works. It's incredibly effective. It is a great way to grow. However, you got to be super, super careful not to do it in the wrong way. Most marketing companies, record labels, distributors that I have spoken with, the podcast, I've had almost 200 episodes, and I always talk about marketing with most of my guests, and all of them still to this day are spending at least 50% of their budget on social media ads to increase streaming. But again, don't attempt to run social media ads on your own without guided support. It is incredibly complicated, and you're going to want some guided support. It's very, very tricky. Yes, Max. So, what we have done is simplified it. So, how do you learn how to effectively run social media ads? How do you grow your social media organically, properly roll out your releases, and collect 100% of your royalties? Because that's another thing that I didn't really talk about. It doesn't matter if you grow on streaming services if you don't know how to get your money. Remember that graph at the start when I said 80% went to distributors and 20% went over to for songwriters and stuff? It was estimated last year that over $1 billion in recorded music revenues did not make it to its rightful owners because so many artists and songwriters out there just do not know how to collect their money. They don't know how to register it properly. They don't know how to go get their money. Using a distributor is just one of like many, many things that you need to do to make sure that you're registered properly and that you're collecting all of your money. So many of you know, like I talked about at the beginning, I have my academy, Ari's Take Academy. If you're interested in learning this, you can join us in Ari's Take Academy. It's the registration, royalties, and release plus streaming growth course. I'm just going to do a quick plug for this right now because I got a lot of questions about it, and we do help with this stuff, and then we'll get to your questions. So this is the course. It's very, very extensive. I'm just going to go through kind of this curriculum here. We talk about registering your stuff, how to collect your royalties. We talk a full release plan. So we have all these lessons on how to release a single, an EP album, all the different ones, and then how to run ads. So if you want to learn how to run these social media ads, we have a full chapter on how to run it step by step by step. We're literally sharing the screen and saying, click here, do this, use this, and we simplify it. This is not about needing to master the Facebook Meta Ads Manager backend. We show a totally separate. We've partnered with various companies to really, really simplify it. We're actually working with a few organizations that are kind of using AI technology to simplify, but also make this more efficient. So what we have discovered is now these ads the conversion rates are better than if you go and directly try to run this on Meta Ads Manager directly. We also have a TikTok for Musicians course here taught by some experts on TikTok. So if you want to check that out. Oh, another great thing about this is we have a community. So you can invite into our private community group here where you can share wins. This is a couple of our students actually won a Grammy this year. So this is them. They shared it in the group. And, people that are in there congratulating them. We have, people come in and ask questions. So like this person asked a question, how to hit a promoter. Students answer them. I pop in there. Our various instructors pop in. This one's asking a question about publishing. Students, I'm in there answering questions. So if you have questions, you can pop in and you get them answered in real time. And that is one of the best parts about the course, in my opinion, is that you get all of your questions answered in real time, and there's a community there of like-minded individuals. So we do monthly Q&As. I do a monthly Zoom Q&A. And we bring in some other people there. So just kind of like this, but your faces are on the screen, and we have a conversation every month. There's a good supportive community, and then we connect you directly with specialists on how to run ads as well. So the true value of a teacher comes from the students, as what I learned is I've paid for a lot of courses, and I went to school, and I think a lot of you might have spent maybe $100,000, $200,000 on a university or something like that because the teacher had really impressive resume, but that was it. And then maybe you graduated and you didn't really have, you weren't really set up in a realistic way. I know I am in that boat. So, it's really about the students. So I want to just share a couple stories from our students, and then we're going to get to your questions. Connie Danger said he's very grateful for the course. He released his first single and spent about $600 on playlist push, which earned him about 10,000 streams, 23 followers in the first few weeks. Then the growth and exposure came to a halt. He took his 23 Spotify followers and began this course. With a modest investment, he broke 5,000 followers on Spotify and had over 150,000 streams across platforms. Most importantly, this course helped to refute the unhappy picture brought on by my initial foray into the streaming game. As the streams came in, so did the comments and messages from people across the world telling me how much they liked my music. This is the true gold. That's the really big thing about running ads and everything, and the way that we teach you how to do this. It's not about bots. It's not the quick playlisting thing that's going to get your music removed, or passive listening, people listening to it on a playlist and then they don't know who you are. This is about finding your fans where they exist in the world, bringing them in, welcoming them into your world, not just getting them to listen to your music, but becoming fans. You'll get the DMs and all of that. Joel Vina, he's a classical Indian musician, and from the growth that he's received, he's got gig opportunities, he got a licensing deal, placements, bunch of passionate students, and then he even booked a concert in Mumbai, and 80% of the audience was younger than 35. So this is a very extensive course. We got 30 video lessons, access to the community, free updates for a year. And it's we're not charging what a normal university would charge for stuff like this. If you do want to join us, you can join us. It's a $997 for the course, or $63 a month for 18 months. And we'll be with you every step of the way if you'd like to join us in this course. Since you joined me live today and you devoted your afternoon, or this hour rather, if you use the code TOP7, you'll get $100 off for the next 7 days. Just use that. Mikey will pop the link in there if you want it. And yeah, Noelle also said she loves this course so far. It's helped me greatly because I do a lot of my royalties administration myself. The wording on some forums is a bit confusing, but seeing Ari go through it and explain really makes me feel like I'm getting a huge deal with what I paid for. I don't know where else anyone would take the time to go through a form explaining what each section is. Not even the actual company's websites offer tutorials, videos like that about the registration forms. Ren Kai also, he used this and he's got, 500,000 followers on Instagram. He said, he started with only 8,000 before, and it really helped him grow to where he's at now. Night Owl, a hip hop artist, similarly grew pretty rapidly because of this, and found his audience and his fan base. People are getting added to official editorial, all of that. So a couple quick FAQ about it. When does the course start and finish? All the lessons are online, so you can start it now and you can go through it and just get going right now tonight if you want. And then we have monthly Zoom Q&A sessions where you can show up. And then we have the private community group where you can pop in and ask questions whenever you have them. You will have lifetime access to these lessons, and we're committing for at least a year to be with you, helping you out every step of the way. How much money do you have to invest above the cost of the course? We recommend, if you do want to run the social media ads, which again is only one part of the course, you want to spend about $10 a day to be effective with running ads. If you have more of a budget, you'll grow quicker. If you have less, really that $10 a day, that's what we found to be kind of the magic number of really to be effective to run ads. You can turn them on and off too, so you don't need to run them in perpetuity. So I'll leave you with this. As someone now that my book is being taught in hundreds of universities around the States and around the world, and I've done a lot of speaking. I've worked with a lot of artists, and I've realized that even though so many people have the information unfortunately is not enough. It's about those that take that info and then put it into action and work with it. And a lot of people, they see price tags of certain things and I think they get scared away because they don't want to invest in yourself. I think investing in yourself is the most important thing you can do. I've always prioritized investing in myself. Don't invest in the stock market, or like crypto or whatever. Invest in yourself. Think about what you're using your disposable income. Maybe don't go out to eat a couple times this month. Really think about how you want to devote your money and where you want to put that and invest it. Money replenishes, Time does not. You could learn all of this stuff in the next 10 years on your own if you want. Or you can invest a little bit and learn this in the next few weeks and really hit the ground running. It's this time money thing. If you have more time and less money, then you spend the time learning it. If you have a little bit of money and not as much time, it's going to expedite and move a lot quicker. So this is some tough love that I was given early on in my career, and it really kicked my ass. And so I have to share this with you. Um, there are two options. You have two options. Option number one is you can have a music career. Option number two, you can make excuses. And this was something really early on when I was making a ton of excuses why things weren't happening fast enough, or I thought was happening at the speed of which it was supposed to happen for me. And I kept making excuses. Well, they are getting it and they don't deserve that. And why aren't I getting these opportunities? Why is my music spreading? And then someone was like, yo, do you want a music career or do you want to keep making excuses? And that's it. That's really it. So I would encourage you to no more excuses, get serious about it. Let's make it happen. Let's win. All right. Let's take some questions. Thank you for sitting through all of that. And I hope you learned a shit ton. I packed in a lot into the hour. Now I'm going to stay here and ask questions. So there's a Q&A box. That's the best way. If you can actually just pop that box there, and I will go down the road because I don't believe we're actually able to. If you'd prefer to ask your question verbally, I can call on you. You can raise your hand and I can allow you. There's a button I can click and enable you to talk if you'd prefer that. But let me answer some of these first since you popped them in here. So let's go through. All right. All right. Kim Johnson asks, the confusing part about pitching early to editors, is how are they listening to the song if it's not live yet on the platforms, but I'm supposed to pitch early before it comes out? Great question, Kim. Let me clarify this. So in the only way that you can start to pitch these editors, specifically at Spotify or Amazon, is you have to distribute your song early. So this is why I mentioned you want to distribute your song at least 3 weeks in advance. So map it out. When is your release date? 3 weeks before that is when you should distribute the song. Queue it up for distribution. It goes into their portal. Then you can ping the distributors, and that's when you pitch them to their portal because they then have the song. You've sent them the song through your distributor 3 weeks in advance. And then also sometimes people pitch these editors outside of the portal, and you send them usually like a disco link or something like that. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Steve asked about Submit Hub. I already answered that. Karina asked about Submit Hub. I already talked about that. I see these questions came in during now. Mirna Child says, how many single releases before the album? Honestly, I've seen artists these days that have a 12-song album and they release 12 singles. So there's no rule. Artists, I've seen them do 6 or 7 singles before the album. So remember, every time you release a song, that's another opportunity to pitch the editors and to promote it, to send out press releases, to promote it on your socials, to make videos around it. If you just make one release and that's an album, that's one opportunity to tell everybody about it. And then in 3 weeks after your album's released, they'll be like, okay, what else do you have that's new? And you'll be like, are you kidding me? I just released my album that I spent the last 3 years working on, blood, sweat, and tears. Go listen to the album. And they'll be like, yeah, I already listened to it. What else do you have that's new? That's the thing. We're in this crazy, fast-paced speed of the world where even though you put out an album, they're always going to want something new. So that's why I encourage you to release single after single after single after single leading up to the album. Okay. Okay. I think it's Luri. Montedanero asked, there seems to be big pressure from record labels to put TikTok content nowadays. I see a lot of artists trying to get viral with funny, trendy videos, but I wonder what kind of TikTok material actually translates to streams. This is a really, really, really good point. You don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. Go listen to the most recent episode, or one of the recent episodes I did on the podcast with the artist Victoria Canal. She talks about this very eloquently. You don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. If you go viral because you participate in some goofy trend, that's not going to translate to streams. If you go viral because people like the way you look, that's not going to transfer to streams. Just be very careful. I would encourage you, when you're going to work your organic social media on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever, really only make posts like that folk artist that I showed you earlier that are along the lines of your music or your brand. So if you want to be an influencer, that's a different strategy. But I don't think a lot of people here want to be influencers necessarily. I think you want to be musicians. So TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, these are all very powerful platforms at promoting your music and promoting you as an artist. Just don't go viral the wrong way. Don't participate in dumb trends that are not going to help your music career. Okay. Steven, I'm going to call on you. Steven, or yeah, Delacy. If you want to, feel free to unmute yourself and
Hi,
you can.
Eric.
Hey, what's up?
Hi. So my question was, can, well, I released singles in the past, over the last couple of years,
Okay.
and through CD Baby, and I'm working on an album that will probably be ready for release in September.
Okay.
Well, I'm wondering, with about 5 or 6 singles already released, but without much promotion, can I release the singles? Can I release them again? That's my basic question.
Great question. Thank you so much, Stephen. Um, so, uh, great question, and here's how this works. So, yes, you can always re-release, and this is something that's called the waterfall release method. And I step this through in the course where I kind of screen share and I show you how to cue this up. But very, very basically, how this works, you can always re-release songs, and people are doing this. So you release one song, and then the next release is your second single. But sometimes you might see there's 2 songs on that release, and then the third single there's 3 songs, like all 3 of the first ones, and you essentially like build your album that way. Um, you can do that. However, the way you want to do it is you always need to use the same ISRC codes. So every distributor, Stephen, you said you use CD Baby. Every distributor, you can find your ISRC code in there. So when you queue up that song again as part of a new release or an album or an EP or whatever, just use that ISRC and then they will connect. So even if you use different covers, like artwork for each release, that's okay. We see that all the time. Different artwork, different on different albums. This song is across various different releases. That EP, that album, whatever, best of, who knows. As long as you use the same ISRC, it will get connected to the same stream counts everywhere, and they'll all count as one. So even on your most popular songs on your Spotify or Apple Music, it's not going to double up. It's not going to be like that same song name every single time. It's just going to be one, and it will connect. So absolutely, you can do that. Okay. Let me keep going. I answered. Yeah, Sandra. Peavers, you said no mention of YouTube. This is a really great question. So YouTube is, I put that in a completely separate category from streaming. And we could talk about, YouTube Shorts, which is in the same kind of category as short form video as Reels and TikTok. However, I have not seen yet, and this may come, YouTube Shorts catching on and finding an audience to promote streams on outside services like Spotify, like DSPs, like Spotify and Apple Music, like I have seen on Instagram Reels and TikTok. YouTube is its own beast. So YouTube is very powerful for the music industry. YouTube is a great fan engagement tool. Fans love going to artist YouTube profiles, learning more, watching videos, their music videos, all of that. YouTube is very powerful. I actually had the global head of YouTube music, Leor Cohen, on the podcast. Check out the episode. This was very, very recent. And he talks all about YouTube music and how what is happening with YouTube music. So that is why I didn't really spend much time discussing YouTube here, because I don't really consider that streaming, like audio streaming. It's a totally separate thing, and it pays totally differently. It's a completely separate thing. Okay. Sandra Peeves also, maybe a dumb question, but is there enough money to be made through streaming to make all this effort worthwhile? So I look at streaming as, it is almost like the front end. It is the foot in the door. This is kind of like what radio was historically in the past. Did people make money on when their songs got played on the radio? Sure, songwriters actually could make a lot if their songs got played on the radio. But it was then radio was used historically to generate sales or ticket sales or something like that. So is there enough money generated from streaming? Yes, and that's why I started the presentation today. I don't know if you're here early on, Sandra, but that's why I started with that there was over $36 billion made from streaming revenue. And that's why I also said there's 22,000 artists, individual artists, that made $50,000 last year from streaming royalties. And that's just from Spotify. So if you include Apple Music in that as well, then that number is going to be much, much greater. So it definitely is. Now, is streaming the end all be all and the overall solution? Absolutely not. I am extremely critical on a policy level on how streaming works, how it pays, how it does not pay. If you've been following me, I write about this extensively. I talk about this extensively, and I'm fighting for better rates and I'm fighting for a better future for all of us. That all being said, I'm also practical and we have to run our careers. So I don't want to ignore the facts. I want to present the facts and then present how people are succeeding and actually making real money from streaming. But then at the same time, I am also going to fight for a better future for all of us. All right, Audra, if you'd like to ask your question, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. I know you said you talk about it in your seminar, but for some of us who can't really afford it at the moment, are you
Sure.
able to talk and maybe like briefly summarize what we should be prioritizing for our social media ads?
Yeah. I can go over it for sure. So if you already kind of have that down, it's where we're at right now with ads are so it's similar to what we're seeing that is succeeding on organic social posts. So like TikTok, Instagram Reels. It's like short 20 to 30 second vertical videos, of course, that there's a hook at the start. So words on the screen that say something like POV or whatever, or like, I wrote this. This is like a super contentious thing I wrote, or this is like, they said I couldn't do this or whatever. So and then it's whatever's based on you. So some people succeed with live videos. That folk artist, is just playing the songs acoustically. It's what we're seeing these days. The ads and the videos that are working really well are the ones similar to what's working on TikTok or what's working on Instagram Reels. And what is also recommended, and this is what's nice about how ads work, and same with TikTok essentially, is you can test all these out. So you can have like 10 videos and have them compete against each other. So you're like, you know what? I don't know which video is going to be the best. Or like you have a great live video, but like what's the best moment? Because you only got like the first 2 seconds to hook somebody in. So we've tested this quite a lot. And what I found is like I had this live in studio video and this song that I thought was like the song that would work. And we did 6 different edits, like 20-second edits of this song. And one of them did not connect. No one was watching it. People are skipping it, swiping through it, did not connect. Then we cut the video like literally 3 seconds earlier, where it started on the drummer instead of starting on the singer, and then that ad exploded. The cost of conversion was way low. Everyone was watching it. It was converting to streams. It was wild to me. So you always want to test. That's the big thing. Is and don't be precious with it. Similar to how like TikTok and Instagram Reels. Now I hope you guys know, Instagram Reels. There's like this feature where you can kind of go. I think they call it like quiet mode, or I forget what it's called exactly, but they're trying to be like TikTok. You can test out reels on Instagram that don't get shown to your followers. So if you're like afraid, you don't want to bombard your followers, you can, for a reel, you can flip this switch on, and then it'll just send it to a cold audience, people who are not your followers, to test it out. So you can test them on Reels or TikTok. The one that works the best, you can use that for ads, or maybe the top 3 that work the best, use those for ads and have them compete against each other. And then Instagram, Facebook, Meta, they will they do this automatically. So they will test out all of these, and they will put the ad spend behind the video that's connecting the best, that's getting the lowest cost per conversion that way. Hopefully that made sense, Audra, and that helped. Okay, so let me see here. Here's a question. Okay. Let's see. Eric Allen, would you say a realistic timeline to go from aspiring artist to having a music career that is bringing in consistent monthly income will take 18 to 24 months? I mean, there are so many variables with this, Eric. It's, you know, I wish I could say like A plus B plus C equals D, but you know, it's like, one, I don't know what stage of your career you're at, meaning like, are you just learning to record? Are you producing your own music? Have you just picked up a guitar yesterday? Let's say that your music is set. Let's say that like you're a professional musician, your music is competitive, you have had some objective ears of people you trust who are not related to you and are not your friends. And let's say that people in the industry that you trust have responded well. Maybe you've even tested this music, done some market research. You know your music is competitive, not because you love it. We all love our music, but because you've tested it. So let's say that your music is competitive. People in the industry have anonymously rated it very, very highly. You know you're good to go. Then, okay, that's like starting point. That's like, all right, that's where we're starting from. Very cool. Now it really depends the avenue and like what your goals are. So someone recently in the Q&A or in the questions here asked about sync. And you know, people have all different goals. And if you want to tour, that's a very different strategy than if you don't want to tour, or you just want to release music, or you just want to get your song synced, or it's a very different strategy if you know, you can make music on your own versus you need to book studio time and work with a full band. Like all of this is a different strategy. So you know, I have seen artists in 6 months go from being great at music, putting music out in the studio, to making a serious living from royalties. I've seen, or 3 years, like I talked about, how the manager in the podcast mentioned that it took their artist 3 years. So it really varies on your goals. I wish I could just say A plus B plus C equals D, and there you're there. I will tell you that on the ads front, in this front, that this is exponential growth, and people are seeing a return on that investment, usually within about 9 to 18 months, based on kind of their music, based on their videos, based on like the conversion rates, the response rate, all of that. But if you have a bit to invest in ads, and so in those ads, you will see that kind of return. Is it Denis, I don't know how to pronounce it. Please pronounce it for me, Dania Quill. You can unmute yourself and tell me
Uh,
how to say your name. Hi,
okay, it's Danier.
Denier. Thank you, Denier.
Hi. Um, yeah, I read your book and I have it on tape, so again, your voice is like very familiar to me.
Cool. Right on.
Um, I was just wondering, I have a kind of two questions. I put them both in the question, but hopefully I can just split
Please.
them out
Yeah,
real
yeah, go
quick.
for it. Blurt them out.
Um, I had run an ad campaign that was like really successful. People were engaging with me, people were arguing with me about my music, people
Yeah.
were saving it to favorites. But and I ran it kind of ahead of when I actually released it. But when I released it, nobody streamed it. And I even like put out the thing with the like, okay, you can stream it now. Like just click the link here. What did I do wrong?
No, great question, and I have a couple questions for you. When you say that the ad campaign was successful, what do you mean by that, and how did you run the ads, and what were you sending people
Well, I ran ads on TikTok and Instagram. I just
to? Okay.
paid their boost, like you can
Mhm.
boost this post, and it was
Yeah.
just a clip of my music videos I had made for it.
Okay. Great.
And several different versions of it.
Mhm.
And like you said, some of the versions did better than others. I had no followers at the beginning of it, and I had a few more followers by the end of it, but it almost went viral. And this was like 3 days before TikTok went dark, so I didn't spend any more money on it. It
Okay.
could have gone viral if I'd like pushed a little harder, but
Yeah,
um
I got you. And then the video that you were promoting, what was the video?
it was just the song playing. It was the actual music video.
Oh, okay, right on. So it's the song. You're great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So great question. Yeah, let's talk about it. So, there are a few reasons. One, I never recommend clicking that boost button. It's so easy to do right on Instagram and TikTok. It's
Okay.
so easy to run ads that way, and they make it super easy. Um, Few reasons. One, by boosting and kind of promoting videos that way, um, you are not able to create a trackable uh, conversion trackable landing page that sends people directly to streaming services. So even if you say I want to send people to the website and you put in your like your
Mm.
landing page or feature or Spotify link or whatever, it's not going to prioritize it. That boost button is really good about finding people on the platform and keeping them on the platform, getting them talking and watching the video and whatever. Um, it finds a totally different audience. Another reason why you don't want to use the boost button is because if you're on an iPhone and you click boost, Apple charges a 30% surcharge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, absolutely. And if you run it from your iPhone, you're now paying 30% more just because you click boost from your iPhone. Whereas if you run that same exact ad from your desktop or from the browser, not in the app, I should say, you're going to pay 30% less. So
I
that's
found that
another
out
reason why,
later.
yeah, you should never use the boost button. But all that to say, like they make it so easy to pay them through those little buttons, and it's just not effective. So you think the ad can so I would push back a little bit on the ad campaign was successful. If your goal of this campaign was to get people to stream your music, then I would say that ad campaign was not successful. Just because you got a bunch of people talking and a bunch of views, that doesn't matter. The whole point of it, I guess, was to get people to stream your music. And if they didn't do that, then it wasn't successful. So, that's how we gauge success with this is it takes a lot more effort on the back end to kind of queue it up in the right way, get this trackable landing pages and making sure that it's finding the correct audience because that's the other thing. You're so limited on the boost button. You can't like when we teach you how to queue these ads up, we say like, all right, what are the similar artists that are you want to find their fan bases? What are their genders, the age ranges? You get super granular. What are their interests? And it's almost like market research is like, who are my target who's my target audience, who's my fan base. And by doing that, it then finds those people. And then when you're running the ads through this special interface that we have, that's not just the Meta Ads Manager, it then uses kind of AI to analyze this and to find that audience, and then it prioritizes whatever that goal that you have is for that ad campaign. So the goal that we usually encourage to set is more conversions, more streams. And so then it tracks, okay, we don't care, like this is what the algorithm, the kind of the program is thinking and saying, like, we don't care how many views it's getting. We don't care how many people are commenting. The only thing that we care about is how many people are clicking through and actually streaming the music. So when you put that stipulation in there, then it's going to then find those people that are most likely to click and stream and stream the music on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that. So that's kind of the that's like really the big difference, and why that campaign didn't convert. But thank you for the question. I totally feel you. I've done the same thing too in the past. Okay, let's see here. Michael Brian says, how important is a clean looking discography on the streaming services? I.e., if you keep up single artworks that waterfalled into bigger release, and then are there copies of songs with the same RCC codes versus taking them down? Does this matter? Does this have any impact? Great question. I have debated this with many in the community. Short answer is, it doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. It is a personal decision how you want your discography. I've worked with artists who don't care. They leave up literally every single release, and you look at their discography and there's like, oh my gosh, they've had 200 releases. I've also worked with artists that are super, super particular about it. They only want the albums and then single releases that are not attached to an album up there. And that's totally cool. You can take down the releases, but you do want to be super careful when you do take down a release that you have to make sure that if you're going to take it down, it doesn't remove it from TikTok and it doesn't remove it from Instagram, because if it does do that, they will then block the sound on TikTok and Instagram. So you want to be careful about that. Lynn asked, if your music gets removed, can you appeal it to Spotify and re-release it? Lynn, if your music got removed, I'm very sorry. It sucks. But the short answer is yes, you can always appeal it. There's a form within Spotify for artists. You can contact them. You can message them directly. But honestly, it's not just through Spotify. It's really through your distributor. So you have to be in touch with your distributor about it. Some distributors are better than others about getting back to their artists when this happens to them. And most distributors will say, Spotify told us to take it down. That's not always the case. Really, what Spotify will do is they will ping the distributor and say, we've detected streaming fraud. And then the distributor's like, well, we don't want to get fined. We're just going to take it down. And these kind of DIY distributors that have, hundreds of thousands of artists, they just they don't have time or care to deal with each of them. So you might need to switch distributors and then redistribute the song. But again, if your song is included in a botted playlist and you redistribute that song with the same ISRC, it's going to repopulate in that playlist and it's going to be botted, and it will probably get taken down again. So I would find the root of the cause. Why did it get taken down? Figure out exactly why. If it's in a botted playlist, try to get it removed from that playlist. Contact Spotify, say like, hey, I think this playlist is botted. I don't know how my song got added to it. Can you please take down this playlist? They'll look at it and be like, oh, you're right. Thank you for letting us know. So you want to be careful about that. Okay. All right. SLN asks a great question. I find it challenging to release a new song every 4 to 6 weeks, especially given the whole social media campaign and marketing involved for each track. What has worked for you in terms of distributing in time with marketing versus songwriting, creating versus admin like submitting? Okay, great question. I totally feel you. I get it. It's very hard to be on this hamster wheel of releasing music every 4 to 6 weeks and recording it and writing it and all that. Everyone's going to have a different process. So uh, a lot of people like to devote months to making a record, songwriting, rewriting, co-writing, recording, all of that stuff. Do that. Great. Spend months, spend a year. Work on, record 20 songs. And then you can then spend the next year and a half, 2 years rolling all those songs out. So other people like making music and releasing it in real time. They get inspired, they make a song, they can make it from home, produce it real quick, pop it out. So I don't know what your process is, but find a process that works for you, and then you can work the marketing after the fact. Orpheus, Mikas, can you pronounce your name for me?
Hello. Yes, Mijas.
Mikas.
Hi, Alice. Thank you so much. This is so useful.
Yeah.
So I make all kinds of different subgenres of EDM. I make psytrance, house, downtempo. I don't like to limit myself. And
Great.
I often think if I'm confusing the algorithm of making very different tracks. What do you
Yeah.
have to say on that?
Great question. So Orpheus, would you consider yourself kind of a producer? Do you produce just your own music, or do you collaborate with other artists as well?
So yes, I'm a producer. I collaborate with many different artists. I have a master's degree. I've been
Mhm.
working on this for 7 years now, and I'm a lifelong musician.
Awesome. So that's a really great question. And so depending on how different these songs are, what I've seen a lot of producers do is they do create separate projects based on a genre. So if it's like very different, so if like, you know, I'm gonna just use an extreme example. If you are like have a singer-songwriter acoustic folk project where it's just you singing and playing an acoustic guitar, obviously that probably would not fit on in an electronic page where it's just like house music. Those are extreme examples, but think about what would these songs on this artist project, because you can put out as many artist projects as you want. Um, do they fit together? Would they be cohesive in a concert setting? Would people buy a ticket and make sense? Would they, does this feel like the same artist, or would they fit all on a playlist? Does that sound right? Or if they're completely separate and completely different, then I would recommend to do multiple different artist projects. This is very common in the sync world as well, where producers who work with sync agencies, they have different projects for different genres that they produce music for. So, they make house music, they make hip hop, they might make pop music, and they have 3 different projects that deal with all of that.
If I may,
Yeah, sure.
so it's not that they're completely different like acoustic and electronic. It's more
Okay.
that they encompass, I would say, all the spectrum of my emotions within the electronic spectrum. So they might be very slow and sensual, and they may be very fast and explosive. And you wouldn't see them usually on a playlist, but on a set, for example, the way that I structure my DJ sets, they do make a story in terms of how you build the energy up and you go into a peak that is very fast, and then you can slow down to something more calming eventually to finish the party, for example.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I often think if I'm confusing the algorithm, but by not always making house, but by making all this range.
I hear you. That to me sounds like one artist project. That sounds cohesive to me. A lot of artists have big upbeat music, and then they have more chill, down-tempo music. And if it's all like fits in the sonic palette, I would keep it in one artist project. That sounds really similar. And when it comes to, playlists or the algorithm and playlists are really approaching the song by song, not necessarily by artist. So it will test each song in different playlists, and the algorithm will test it out. So it's not based just on the artist. So that to me sounds like one project. And yeah, that's great. I mean, diversity is great, and definitely switch it up based on your emotions and what you're feeling. That's awesome. Sarah Hiltz.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering if you could speak a bit about kind of like budgeting your time and your money. So when that saying about, you can replenish your money, but not your time.
Yes.
And let's say you're limited on both of those.
Yeah.
Then, okay, so I'm wondering if you could speak about like how much time investment do you think it takes to learn this, like tailoring your ad?
Yeah.
And then also you said it's good to sort of budget for $10 a day. And let's say, okay, if you're releasing a single, for how long would you be recommending? Like $10 a day for how long?
Yeah. Great question. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to start zoomed far out just to understand the concept, and a recommendation, kind of a general recommendation that I found, and then we're going to get super granular to answer the question specifically. So I have what I call the 50-50 rule, and that means that 50% of your time should be spent on the creation of your art, the creation of your music, the songwriting, the recording, all of that. And 50% of your time should be spent on the marketing and promotion of that music. Now, this is not a daily calculation. This is over the whole course of your career. So, of course, when you're maybe writing your album or you're in studio or whatever, 85% of your time is going to be spent on the art. And, maybe 15% is going to be spent on, emails and social media and whatever. And then that flips when you're ready to release the music. 85% of your time should be spent on the marketing and promotion, and maybe 15% is spent on the creation or the art or practicing, rehearsing, all that stuff. That's time. 50-50 rule, I also apply to money. So 50% of your money should be spent in the creation of that art, and 50% of your money should be spent on the marketing and promotion of that art, of that music. So and the reason I say this is because far too many people budget out their album and they talk to producers and mixing engineers and mastering engineers and musicians that they want to hire and all of that. And they're like, all right, it's going to cost me $15,000 to make this album. I need to raise $15,000. I need to save up $15,000, whatever. And then they put their album out and then they have no money left over for marketing. And they're like, $10 a day, how am I supposed to do that? I spent all $15,000 on making this album. I can't do this. And then they wonder why no one's hearing the album. If you have $15,000 to make the album, you need $15,000 to market the album if you want to reach an audience. It absolutely applies, that 50-50 applies to money too. So getting back to your point and your question, $10 a day for how long? $10 a day is the minimum. If you can spend more, spend more. But you start slow because you want to see what works. And I test multiple ads out at once and multiple different videos, different ads, different audiences for different songs. And then I see, oh, all right, this conversion rate is 40 cents. That's a little, that's okay. That's, this conversion rate is 20 cents. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm spending half as much and I'm converting twice as many people at the same amount of money. This ad, let me turn this ad off. Let me do this one. So it's like you start at the $10 a day to figure out which ads work. And then once you have one that works, then you can ramp it up. And some people promote songs. You asked how long? Some people do that for years with the same song. You can do it for weeks. You can do it for months. It's totally up to you. It's kind of on your release strategy and your schedule. And, I start it from the moment the song is released and you keep it going. And then if you want to, it's based on how much budget you have. So if you're like, all right, I only have $10 a day. Okay, fine. You have $300 a month. That's how much you're going to spend in marketing. I would recommend more, but if you have $300 a month, cool. Let's focus on the $300 until you're starting to make more money with your music, and then you can invest that. Then I would start on the one song, you release your next song, then you can push some budget over there, test out if this works. But also, like, don't be too precious about some songs. Some of like the best songs of some of the artists that I work with, those ads aren't converting as well for some reason. Maybe it's the video, maybe it's the point of the song, whatever. But we then send people to their catalog, to their profile, or to a playlist of their music or something like that, and we put their best song second. So the song that we are using as the ad is first, and then they jump onto your profile or to the playlist, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the song from the ad I listened to. I like this song a lot. And then they just listen down to your music. And so it builds up the entire catalog that way. You don't have to just promote the one single or the one song. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's very helpful. Just thinking of budgeting kind of 50-50 across both spectrums.
Yeah.
When you're talking about all of the ad criteria, like it definitely sounds like a learning curve and could eat up like a significant chunk of that 50% of your time.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you are of the opinion that it's important for artists to do this themselves, like just get over that learning curve to do the ads, or if there's like a reputable service that can help you
Yes.
run the ads, like, and do the tests for you.
Yes. So we have the service that you're talking about is the one that we have integrated into the course. And so we've kind of combined, we've put together this, it's not just the ads manager, because if you just wanted to learn the ads manager, that would take you like probably 30 to 40 hours to master that. That's not what we tell you to do. We actually teach you, we've used these services that, we've partnered with that make this super, super easy. So you will become an expert at this within, I would give yourself probably 4 hours to really go through all. I mean, you can spread that out over a week or something like that if you want to really learn it. I mean, and study it. So it's like you spend an hour, in 1 hour, not even, you'll get it all queued up, set to go, and it'll be set and perfect. Then you're going to spend another hour in like 2 days to analyze it. Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay, let me tweak it. Then you're going to spend another hour a few days later, tweak it again. Then you'll spend another hour a few days later, tweak it again. And by that 4th hour, you're going to be like, all right, I have a very, very strong handle on this, and I know how this is going to work. So we've actually simplified all of this to make it so you don't have to spend the 40 hours, banging your head against the wall using the Meta Ads Manager to do this. So yeah, I would encourage you, if you do want to join us in the course, we'll teach you through, step you through this, because again, like I have banged my head and I've been the one trying to figure out the Meta Ads Manager. Even I've taken course, I've used to, work with experts on this. It is so confusing in there. So we don't actually tell you to go in there at all. You don't even have to do that. It's like super, super easy, straightforward, right in there. And I would recommend checking that out if you want to really learn this. It's very, very straightforward, and I promise within just a few hours you will master it. Okay, Jack Maker, is it Jack?
Yes, it's Jack Maker. Can you hear me?
I can.
Adi, dude, it is a pleasure to talk to you, man. I bought your book a couple years back. I've been following you for some time. Haven't finished the book, gotta be honest. I gotta get
It's
to it.
thick.
It's a lot of fucking info, man. It's
I
good stuff
know.
though. But
Thank you. Yeah, all
I
good.
have to ask you, because you were answering, I forget the girl's name, but I think Danielle or something, or Danny. You said do not boost, right? And I'm at a point where I've definitely realized boosting doesn't do shit because
Yeah.
of literally what you said.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, because when it comes to music, it's not just unfortunately about the music, it's also about the branding and how people perceive you as a person, as a brand. Would you ever recommend considering boosting, not specifically to drive traffic to music, but
Mhm.
to boost, let's say, certain branding posts to increase exposure to people on the platform and help build how they see you?
Yeah, so great question, Jack. So what I have found and what we teach you and what we have now I mean, we have hundreds of students now that are using these methods, and what we have found is you kill two birds with one stone. So the boost term we're all familiar with because that's the name of the button on Instagram that we can see and just click boost and it's super easy, not effective. When we run ads, we actually are using an Instagram Reels post. We are using a post and we're running ads to that post. Just like you said, it's going to increase exposure, all that. But that being said, the goal of the ad is always, and when I say the goal, that's really just kind of like what we're telling the program that we're using to run these ads and what we're programming in. The goal is conversions to get them to listen to stream. That being said, it absolutely increases views, comments, likes, engagements. And so you'll look into your backend on the Reels on Instagram, you're like, wow, this post has 4 million views and hundreds, if not thousands of comments. That's because we ran ads on it, and this, or that we used it as our ad rather, and it now found its audience. But the goal of this ad was not to increase views or comments. The goal and the back end was to get them to stream the music, and it was almost secondary, but it always happens that it will increase views, and then you can pin that video, that reel, to the top of your Instagram profile, and if that's the one that represents you the best, it's killing two birds with one stone, essentially.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Pronounce your name for me, Akarshan Dakal. Hello? It looks like you unmuted yourself, but I don't know if maybe your microphone isn't connected or the interface isn't connected. Oh,
Okay, now. Hello?
yes, now we got you. Yes.
It's Akarshan, by the way.
Akarshan, thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to, I've been following you for a couple of years now. I really appreciate for whatever you're doing in the space.
Right on, thank you.
Like, there are not many people doing this kind of stuff for the music itself, like the music business. So coming back to my question, I've worked with like a few artists for now. Like I've been working in the space for 5 years now. So we tried for my initial question was for regarding the editorial playlist.
Yeah.
So I pitched a bunch of songs on Spotify for artists, but haven't gotten any editorial playlist placements. So what actually a pitch, like what's the pitch that you put out? So I've scraped all the resources on the internet, asked ChatGPT, used all the methods for almost like 4 months and
Yeah.
no result at all. So any guidance on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question, Akarshan. Have any of the songs gotten included in algorithmic playlists like radio or Discover Weekly or stuff like that?
Not really.
Okay, so have you used other marketing? Like, have you run ads? Have you had any success on social media in terms of like posts or videos that have caught on a little bit and driven streams?
Not really. So one of the song actually got like, it was not through ads. It was just like hashtags on Instagram. There was we used like AI generated videos for that, and it was quite resembling of the actual song itself and what the song would depict, right? So, and the tags actually worked. And that week, probably we got like maybe 60 or 70 new listeners. But again, same thing, didn't change into something else. We were consistent every 2 weeks, new song, good artwork, good music. Everything was on point, but I don't know what I did wrong, you know?
What's the style of music?
It's lo-fi, both of them.
Lo-fi, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a few things here. So I totally feel you. This is incredibly frustrating when it doesn't really get much traction when you think it should. The good music, good art, all that stuff. So this is honestly where I think ads can be very, very helpful, because trying to go viral or get a video to connect is like playing the lottery. Same with pitching to editors. What I have found that when you start to like, it's almost like a ladder that you're climbing. So, you know, you got to get to the first rung of this ladder, and that is algorithmic playlist success. And the way to get to that algorithmic playlist, like get included on radio or Discover Weekly and Daily Mix and all of that stuff, without fail, every time I've run ads for some songs, those songs have gotten algorithmic play because you're sending all of these people to this song, and then that triggers the algorithm saying like, oh, a lot of people are listening to this. Now, the ones that now the songs that I have promoted, they have been effective. I haven't heard your music, so I can't speak to like if, the music or the video or the creative or whatever, but let's just say it's competitive with everything else in the lo-fi category out there. Ads will really help. And, it might take a little bit to figure out how exactly the ad should be, what you want to focus on, what the visuals are, when you're promoting a playlist and all of that. Now, that also being said, we talked earlier about some of these these listener playlists that are pay for submission, and I mentioned being very, very careful about this kind of stuff because you
Yeah,
don't
most
want
of
to
them are frauds. Yeah.
so much fraud out there.
Mhm.
Groover is a service that I've used, and it is more legitimate. But that all being said, even I've tested all of these out, and the listener playlists really don't move the needle as much as ads do. So I would say, running the ads will get you that first rung on the ladder of getting on the algorithm. And then as you start to promote and release more music and you start submitting to editors, the editors will see it. And in their back-end portal, your songs are going to start to rise up because you've now had algorithmic success, and they have a lot more data on the back end that they're looking at. So they're going to be like, okay, how many followers does this artist have? They take that into consideration. You're going to get followers by running ads to your profile. How many followers do they have? How many saves do they have on their songs? Huge. How many personal playlist ads are people adding to their own playlist? Very, very big. How many, skips? Do people skip the song and they don't like it? That goes down. So they get all of this data. They see all of this. And then automatically it kind of puts the songs to the top of the proverbial pile that they're reviewing. So it's a process for sure. And when you don't have a label and you don't have these connections to pitch them directly, off the side, you need to kind of go slow this way.
Also, one more question before I handle the session. So, as told you, I've been releasing every 2 weeks just for the sake of the algorithm. I want to be a top of the algorithm too. So, as if I want to spend an ad, those reasons, if I'm gonna be releasing 2 songs every month, then how much should I spend? Bare minimum, so I can test out, because it's not about just one song I'm releasing constantly. So I have to budget myself as well, right? So how would you recommend me?
Yeah, you don't need to run an ad for every single song. The way that we kind of teach you how to run these things is we essentially teach you to make a playlist of all of your music, so you can always add more songs to your own playlist. It's kind of like the This Is playlist kind of a thing. You make a playlist, you put all the songs there, and then the ads that you queue up, you send people to this playlist. And then you can put the new songs, whatever, at the top if you want, or you can change the order based on the what people are listening to, all of that. So I would recommend, testing a few songs with a few different creatives, different visuals and videos, all of that stuff, and then finding the one that works. You only really need 1 or 2 ads that really, really work. You don't need to be running an ad for every single song, because you send them to the playlist. The goal is that they're just going to keep listening down to this playlist. They're going to listen to 10 songs when you send them there. So that's kind of the focus that we teach you on how to do this. So
Okay, yeah,
cool.
makes sense. And also, if any any plans for the course is specifically like designed for the managers itself? I followed that course like stuff, but it's like mostly catered to the musicians itself, right? So any plans down the road for just the managers, for
Oh,
people like
we have
me,
a
you know?
bunch of managers. This works for managers too. So actually, we have a lot of managers that are in this course, because a lot of managers are the ones that are doing all of the admin work for the
Yeah.
artists. So yeah, whether you're a manager, we have some record labels in the course too, or artists. It's basically whoever's in charge of doing the marketing, promotion, and administration, like registering and release royalty, all that stuff, the release strategy. So yeah, if you're the manager, I definitely recommend coming on in because it'll be very useful for you as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. We'll check it out. Again,
Awesome.
thank you so much for
All right,
all
thanks,
of the things you
Alexander.
do. Thanks.
Totally, thanks. Cool. All right, we're gonna take 2 more questions because we're coming up upon 2 hours. I appreciate all of the questions. I also really appreciate so many of you sticking around. Rajesh Sharma asked Jock to put your Instagram link in there. So yeah, pop it in. I am going to, all right, let's see here. I'm just going, there's so many questions. I really appreciate this. Okay, let's see. Anatoth, if I'm still writing songs, how many songs do you recommend having release ready before starting to release songs? Great question. And is Spotify the best first place to release? So depending on what distributor you use, Anna, you're going to be releasing it to all the DSPs at once, every single one. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal. I mean, everyone. There's 100 out. There's 150 out there. They're going to release it to all of them. So you don't have to choose one of them. I've been talking about the biggest one. Spotify's obviously the biggest, but it will release to all of them. Also, you don't need to worry necessarily about like being done writing or done recording. I just had the label manager of Shabuzi, you know, the bar song Tipsy, which was the biggest song in the world last year. The label manager talked to me about this, and they were already in the album rollout process when Shabuzi went in studio and wrote a bar song, wrote Tipsy. So then they're like, oh, wow, this is a great song. Let's put this as the next single right away. So they had the album done, and then they wrote the song, and they're like, oh, this is the next single. And then they just queued it up, and that was the next single 3 weeks later. So you absolutely can do this. And is that George Brown band from New Orleans? Is that the George Brown, the trombone player? And in the chat, hey, what's up, George? I'm gonna be there soon. I'm gonna look you up. I'm gonna come check out your show. I caught George Brown last time I was in New Orleans. He's a monster trombone player, Grammy nominated. Yeah, I will definitely. I will see you down there. So thanks for coming today, man. Very cool. All right, cool. Well, thank you all. I really, really appreciate everybody showing up today and sticking around with me for questions from all over the world. Very, very cool. And I hope this was helpful. I love everybody sharing all of their music and Instagram and all of that stuff. So I will see you next time. You're going to get a replay in your inbox shortly. And hopefully I will see you in the group. If you want to be a student with us, then I'll see you on these Zoom sessions every month, and then I'll see you in the group, all of that stuff. If not, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, week, month, year, life, all of that stuff. But hopefully I will see you again very, very soon. All right, take care, y'all. Have a great day. Have a great night. All that.